My mother-in-law had been bedridden for 3 years, yet her presence never truly left the house. Rakaya lay still in her narrow bed, her body silent, her eyes always open as if watching something none of us could see. There was a weight to her silence, something heavy and unspoken, and although I could not explain it, I felt it every day, as if the house itself was holding its breath. That morning began like any other. Pale sunlight slipped through the old wooden shutters, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the kitchen as I prepared for another day of care and quiet routines. Our house, standing on the outskirts of the city, seemed calm, almost comforting. It had been 3 years since the stroke took Rukaya's speech and most of her movement, and 3 years since our lives had begun to circle silently around her bed. I went upstairs to change her sheets, and my 5-year-old daughter, Layan, followed me, insisting she wanted to help her grandmother. I knew it was not kindness alone that drew her there, but curiosity. That room was always dim and unnervingly quiet, filled only with the old woman's faint breathing and the steady ticking of the clock. As I lifted the heavy blanket, Layan began to rummage through the layers of bedding as if searching for a hidden treasure. Suddenly she froze and gasped, her voice trembling with wonder and fear. "Mom, look!" I turned quickly, afraid she had found something sharp or dangerous. Instead, she was holding a small bundle wrapped in an old yellowed handkerchief. Embroidered on the fabric were unfamiliar initials, M.R.C. The moment I took it from her, a cold shiver ran through my body, as though something unseen had noticed me. Inside the cloth was a heavy silver necklace, dull with age, engraved with a strange circular symbol surrounded by distorted human figures. It did not look like something an elderly woman would hide beneath her blankets, unless she was desperately trying to keep it unseen. I looked at Rukaya. Her eyes were wide open, fixed directly on me, not on the ceiling, not on the window, on the necklace. For the first time in 3 years, her gaze was filled with something unmistakable, fear. Her lips trembled, and in a voice she should not have been able to produce, she whispered, "Don't open it." The room felt colder. Layan clutched my dress and asked what it was. I forced myself to remain calm and sent her downstairs to call her father. When she left, I turned back to Rukaya. Her only moving hand was shaking violently. I asked her where the necklace had come from. With great effort, she whispered that it was not hers. When I asked whose it was, she struggled to form a single terrifying word. "He's back." Before I could understand what she meant, my husband rushed into the room. When he saw the necklace, all color drained from his face. He told me it belonged to his Uncle Mason, his mother's brother, who had disappeared when he was a child and was never found. The necklace, he said, never left him, and his mother always warned that it was dangerous. Then, without warning, the necklace opened on its own. A faint, pulsing light spilled out, and the room filled with the sharp scent of smoke, though nothing burned. Rakaya screamed, and my husband stepped back, but I felt myself drawn forward. The light cast a broken image on the wall, a man walking among olive trees. My husband recognized him immediately. It was Mason. His face matched the old family photographs, but his eyes were darker, deeper, filled with sorrow and warning. The image trembled violently, and Rakaya began to cry for the first time in years, begging us not to let him enter. At that moment, the front door downstairs creaked open. Shadows twisted unnaturally along the walls, and a heavy presence filled the room. I understood then, with horrifying clarity, that the necklace had not been keeping him out. It had been keeping something in. A tall, thin shadow emerged from the smoke and moved slowly toward me. With each step, the air grew heavier. I raised the necklace instinctively, though its light was fading. The shape began to form, its features vaguely familiar, painfully close to Mason's. I whispered his name. The shadow paused and lowered his head, as if acknowledging it. Suddenly, my husband shouted from below, and the light vanished. The shadow rushed forward, passing through me like freezing wind. I collapsed, hearing a voice inside my mind say, "You opened the door." With a strength I had never heard from her before, Rakaya screamed for it to leave. The shadows shattered, retreating as if torn apart. For a moment, the necklace glowed again, revealing Mason's face one last time. He looked unbearably sad. "I'm not alone," he whispered, before disappearing. What followed was worse. Something heavier awakened. From behind the bedroom door came dragging sounds, slow breathing that was not human. The lights went out, and the door was struck by a cold, massive force. Then came a childlike whisper calling my husband sister, the way Mason once had when they were young. Behind that voice was something ancient and wrong. When silence finally fell, the front door slammed shut. The house felt lighter, emptier. We found Lion unharmed, though shaken. At the threshold lay the necklace, closed and clean, as if purified. Upstairs, Rakaya lay peacefully, smiling for the first time since her stroke. She told us it was gone, that it had only been searching for its way out, not to harm us. She soon fell into a deep, restful sleep. That night, we sat together in the living room with the door open to the cool night air. There was no fear left, only a quiet relief. Perhaps Mason had never wanted to enter the house at all. Perhaps he had only wanted to leave. I placed the necklace in a small wooden box and closed it gently. As I did, I felt something warm brush past my shoulder, like a final goodbye. I smiled without fear. The shadow was gone, and the house was ours again.